Breakfast Club, bitches.
You're a donkey.
Okay, guys. Donkey of the day for Tuesday, January 10th. Let me make sure it's January 10th. I'll be off on my day.
It is.
Yes, it is January 10th. Goes to UFC President Dana White. Now, this situation happened when we were off for a holiday break, and I actually meant to get right to this yesterday, but I wasn't thinking about it. And I felt bad I wasn't thinking about it because that's probably one of the reasons, Jamie Foxx and D.L. Hughley were criticizing the coverage of the fight that Dana White got into with his wife, because it doesn't seem like people are thinking about it. Yes, if you haven't heard, footage was released of Dana White getting into a physical altercation with his wife on New Year's Eve. Let's go to Fox Houston 26 for the report, please.
Back to the Factor Uncensored. A volatile New Year's Eve for UFC President Dana White. He and his wife were spotted slapping each other. Now, the incident was caught on camera in a New Year's Eve nightclub in Cabo, Mexico. No word on what happened beforehand, but White has since apologized, saying there are no excuses for putting your hands on his wife.
That's true. Okay, now listen, do I really have to sit here and have a conversation about why putting your hands on a woman is wrong? Well, I guess I do, since folks are still out here doing it. I don't care if it's your girlfriend, wife, sister, just know. Okay, I heard people saying, she slapped Dana White first, so Dana slapped her back. I promise you, in the court of public opinion, that's a scenario you really can't win. I don't know if you can win that in the court of law. I really don't. Maybe a judge will look at it as self-defense. Maybe a judge won't. I don't know. I just feel if a woman puts their hands on you, if you don't have women around you to handle that situation, run. Okay? You can't win. What did Adrian tell Rocky when he was going to fight the Russian? You can't win.
Before there were reasons to fight, I could understand, but I don't understand this. Even if you win, what have you won? Apollo's still gone. Why can't you change your thinking? Everybody else does.
Because I'm a fighter. That's the way I'm made, Adrian. That's what you married. We can't change what we are. We can't change anything, Adrian. All we can do is just go with what we are.
You can't go with what you are. Have you read the papers? Do you know what everybody says? It's suicide. You can't win.
Jesus. Well, thank you, Adrian, for believing in me. Okay. By the way, we don't talk about that enough. The fact that Rocky beat the Russian in spite of Adrian not believing. Okay, so what? She came to Russia with him to train. That wasn't support. She was there because she thought Rocky was going to get killed by the Russian too.
That's true.
But back to the matter at hand. Dana White. Is there a double standard in the way the media covers domestic violence in regards to Dana White? We have seen how the media responded to Chris Brown, different circumstance because another superstar, was the victim. We've seen how they covered Ray Rice, even though Ray Rice video footage was way more violent. But domestic violence is domestic violence, right? But I saw and heard some people who were defending Dana White. Some folks were saying he's the president of UFC, and when people think MMA, they think violence. So his actions, weren't surprising to some people, but football is violent. Boxing is violent, but I don't see football players and boxers, getting defended in the media. Now, the legends Jamie Foxx and D.L. Hughley, asked some questions. D.L. Hughley said, "What can Brown do for you?" Apparently not a damn thing. If that had been a brother, it'd be nonstop coverage, dredging up a playground fight from the third grade, scouring old tweets, you name it. Dana White's entire life is immersed in brutal physical violence. He's amassed a fortune from it. Where are the salacious headlines? Where's the pressure? Oh, he apologized. Hashtag white privilege, scores a first-round knockout yet again. Jamie Foxx co-signed it and said, effing preach. Now, Dana White did apologize. Let's listen to it.
I'm in Cabo, Mexico, for the holidays with my family. And my wife and I were out Saturday night on New Year's Eve. Unfortunately, that's what happened. You've heard me say for years, there's never, ever an excuse for a guy to put his hands on a woman. And now here I am on TMZ talking about it. But my wife and I have been married for almost 30 years. We've known each other since we were 12 years old. We've obviously been through some shit together. And we've got 3 kids. And, this is one of those situations that's, horrible. I'm embarrassed. You don't put your hands on a woman ever.
He's right. You don't put your hands on a woman ever. He's owning up to it. He's apologizing. Like I said, I've heard boxers, football players, they've been in these same situations. They apologize and they were still demonized. Here's the thing. I agree with D.L. Hughley. But this is what I would say. Mainstream media, whatever that means nowadays, is reporting on Dana White. I think this outrage that DL is looking for, this nonstop coverage, this, pulling up old tweets, pulling up old fights from third grade. I don't care what y'all say. That comes from social media. Okay, that comes from Twitter. a lot of the times. Okay, the only reason the mainstream media has moved on from this is because it doesn't seem like a hot story, because there's no reaction from social media. I keep telling y'all over and over, if you want these mainstream outlets to react, then you have to make them react. Most of these mainstream outlets are reacting to what's happening on social media. You can be watching one of these networks, CNN, MSNBC, and when some foolish celebrity nonsense starts trending on social media, they will stop talking about actual issues, going on in the world to report on the celebrity nonsense. Now, is there a double standard on how mainstream media covers black people and white people? Of course it is. Okay, always has been. But there is other streams, and social media really, sadly, is the stream that matters nowadays. So if you want people to cover Dana White, then you got to cause an uproar on social media. But more importantly, what's the ask? You can't just make noise. Okay, I've told y'all this a million times. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and it never will. That's word to Frederick Douglass. Okay, you can't just say, oh, the media isn't covering Dana White, because they are. What you really want is Dana to have consequences for his actions. But who is going to impose those consequences? Okay, who is going to push to have consequences, leveled against Dana White? Is Dana White being covered different because he's white, rich, powerful, or is he being covered different because she hit him first and it could be considered self-defense? Is he being covered different because he apologized and he owned up to it? I don't know, okay, but I do know he's going to get the credit he deserves for being stupid. So please give Dana White the biggest hee-haw. Matter of fact, let Remy Ma give Dana White the biggest hee-haw.
Hee-haw, hee-haw, you stupid motherfucker, are you dumb?
I haven't heard Remy yet this year.
All right.
I'm sure she'll be guest co-hosting at some point.
Hope so.
Yes.
All
But,
right.
those are questions I do want to know. Like, is Dana White being covered different because he's white, rich, and powerful? Or is he being covered different because she hit him first and it could be considered self-defense? Because I've heard people say that. Or is he being covered different because he apologized and he owned up to it? Which is it?
All right. Well, let's open up the phone lines. 800-585-1051. Why do you feel that Dana White's coverage is a little different than some of the other things that we've seen before? Is it because his wife hit him first? Is it because he's white? Is it because we haven't stressed it enough?
That's what I said. People forget. Frederick Douglass said it the best. Power concedes nothing without a demand. So even when we say these things like, mainstream media isn't covering it, where's the outrage? I mean, they are covering it. What you're really asking is, how come there isn't any consequences to his actions? That's what you're asking.
All right. We'll get to that next. Taking your calls. 800-585-1051. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.